All right, good afternoon, cyber traders. Welcome on back. Your second to last trading day across the calendar year, this Thursday, December 29th. Great to see Ravina joining us still right now, and just a few more of us just joining us here inside the cyber group room. We had Rob just before, actually Rob F, Robert N, we had Bill, and a few more of us just joining us right now, including Michael, loud and clear from him. Hey, if you're on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back as well. Another day, not just to say another runner, another day, another runner on Cala here, right? Obviously, this ended up making a big push for us just yesterday. And suddenly, right now, like right before I started this meeting, this ended up just getting halted right off the highs. It just broke over yesterday's high, at least I should say. It still has some data to work off of from pre-market this morning. We'll talk all about this trade, folks, in just a second. But, hey, just goes to show, though, right? Like, right place, right time. But if you ended up using yesterday's levels on Cala for today, it was going to pay off. Yesterday's levels are still extremely relevant. So if it wasn't this, it could have been the Hoth trade, HOTH. If it wasn't Hoth, it could have been Pally today, which is actually up over 70% right now. So it's been a really nice morning heading into this afternoon. Chuck getting about like $1 on his trade, waiting for it to reopen and for another pop. He's actually in from 1639. So good going, Chuck. And with that, I mean, hey, for right now, we'll easily just put this Cala trade just on our afternoon list to begin. Let me see if I have level 4 open for this trade. I got the time right now. I don't have like phase 2 class coming up today. That'll be tomorrow. But let's jump to Cala. And there it is. Cool. All right. So we'll kind of just do this in full. I got a little time right now. So with that, Cala ended up bottoming out just earlier, actually heading into 1 o'clock, right off of 1350. This was really not a good trade today. For as much as it ended up moving up yesterday, you would have to expect a bit of a pullback, right? At least that's what I thought. So I had no business on this trade, at least at first. And I'm not in this trade now. I didn't really look to follow up with it, at least heading into the mid-afternoon, right around 2 o'clock when it was already running. So, more or less what happened on this trade. We ended up seeing this break over its opening bell print from earlier this morning at the market open, roughly over 16.16. So, it took a few stabs at it prior, a couple of false breakouts, but then it ended up finally making that big pop that you wanted. So, aside from that, I mean, hey, there was another 77,000 share print filled yesterday there at $16. So, that area is going to be really strong on this trade. And obviously, once it finally broke that resistance, like clean break of resistance, the roof, blew off. So with that, definitely put this on our watch list. You would assume psychological levels at this point, folks, meaning not just every dollar. We always go over that in class and traders talk, but the stock is so volatile now. This is not like going to move even off the dollar levels. It'll be best traded perhaps off the $5 levels. 15 obviously was a big point earlier. Ahead, 20. So we'll see if this could end up making the squeeze up as high as 20 and, probably reopen up in the next 1 or 2 minutes. All right. So aside from that, there's a couple of other trades like I had brought up before that are still moving pretty well. There's another one, TGTX, not up as big as these here, but that one also could be in contention. The HOTH, though, this ended up making another nice move off the 10 level just earlier. 10 was a clean level to work off of, psychological level, you could say. But aside from that, there was actually a pretty historical level right off of 10. Let me try and grab that I think it was from the weekly chart. Let me just try and dig back if I may. Here we go. I think this could be it. So, and actually, if I'm being honest, I could really just rip through this and show you the actual lining that I ended up doing like I go over in class. But here's what I wanted to show to make things a little bit easier on the eyes. A doji on the weekly candle right here, just from mid-July, open and close, right at the same price at 10. So that 10's a big level because, it's a whole number. It's a decade number, psychological level in that regard. But historically, that is, a really strong point to watch. So actually, just before, it was teasing the break over 10. And we're not fully out of the doghouse on this trade, meaning that it could still pull back and break lower heading into the close. But it was teasing it. It was showing the higher lows, higher lows. It was actually holding over historical levels I had in purple here, right off of 976 and 950. From there, though, ended up leading to the break over the bigger level off of 10. good for $1 at least. Ended up getting out part position just a little early off of 10.55. Hey, that's a good enough move for my liking. So, just take half my trade out. I have my stop set on the second half right at my entry price off of 10, and 9.95 is my stop. So with that, hey, Hoth could still be in contention. If this ends up dumping back down during this meeting and I go break even on the second half, then I'll probably just scratch it off our list. But for right now, it makes the cut. All right. Now, I will say otherwise, just on the Hoth trade, I'll bring open level 4 one more time here. I'm not going to do it for every stock, mind you, but this had a few different halts on this trade across the morning. So a few key levels that we were calling out, myself and Rich inside the chat board: 1070, 1059, which is kind of right around the same vicinity, and then up as high as 1207. So, I was even going over that with one of our trial members inside our live trading room earlier. They got stuck in a bit of a pickle, and fortunately, it led to a nice squeeze up, but it ended up. There we go. And yes, I ended up getting stopped out. Thank goodness. Because, hey, if it's not going to work out, and if this ends up pulling back below 10, then, hey, for as much as it pumped up, you don't want to be on the wrong side of that. So that's why I took half out earlier. Like I had mentioned, I'm very content for a mid-afternoon trade. Nothing good happens, after 12 o'clock Eastern, as we like to kind of joke around here and say. But we could always get back in, right? We'll see what happens on this trade. For right now, we'll keep it on our list. If this completely plummets from this point, then I'll take it off. All right. So otherwise, let's just go right from top to bottom while we're at it. Again, we don't have phase 2 class today, folks. That will be tomorrow alongside our swing trading class. That actually will be midday tomorrow, too. Nice busy day of classes to wrap up the calendar year. But, we'll go from top to bottom. We have a little time right now to still review a couple of different trades. The Pally from earlier, we're actually pretty familiar with this stock. Ended up doing really well on it back from the end of November. Doesn't look like a great trade looking historically. Yeah, not a great swing trade, but if you know what to follow as a day trade, on a couple of these days, even this big red, wick here, you could see, ended up having a big pump up. So we took full advantage of this as a day trade. This is not a swing trade. So even if this ends up going up to 7 again, we're not going to really recommend this at first as a swing. As a day trade, it ended up doing really nicely for us across the late morning, early afternoon. Hey, again, in that kind of dead zone time, ended up actually making a strong run up over 350, but pulled back. For right now, I feel like this move is pretty much done. I'd rather be more interested in the HOTH for right now, not just because I was just in it, but I feel like that has a little opportunity left. We'll see. Chuck getting out on the Cala trade right now, really nice. And let's go back to that. We were talking about psychological levels. Woo! Look at that. Voice crack there, but you could tell that this ended up just hitting right up to 20 and right back down. Perfect. Chuck getting out from his trade at 17.94. Really nice catch. All right, so back to our gainers list for right now. Pally, we're kind of just going to keep on our side list for right now. There's Cala, obviously number 4 still, pushing up pretty nicely. After 20, you assume next psychological level would be 25. I'm not going to bring my book map back up, but we'll post the link for that at least after we finish up this meeting. SATX not looking too good now. The BXRX was never looking good. I had a pretty strong feeling off of no news catalyst out there in pre-market that this trade would just dump off shortly after the market opened, or even prior, I think I mentioned. So I think I was wrong about prior to the open, but after the open, it was just down. All right, so SPY has been really flat across really the whole day. Ran up earlier after the open, but just really flat afterwards, even after or even prior to 10:30. I feel like my scan's kind of refreshed on me there. TGTX, we ended up doing pretty nicely on this trade earlier as a long. We, as in a lot of us inside the live trading room, I finally caught a good piece of the long, at least later on, as it rebroke 1050. But, honestly, I was looking for the lower high, looking from yesterday's move up, and I was expecting that to be right around, I think initially it was right off of 975, then off of 10-ish, but it just kept pushing up. So I was taking these tiny losses over and over. Like I say to you folks, we want to follow the trend, but I was looking for a lower high and a pullback, much like it did for us literally 24 hours ago in this afternoon meeting. Made that huge drop off, right? So ended up finally pulling back off the 11. I grabbed it from there as a short. It was a nice trade and ended up leaving a lot on the table because I was expecting a lower high from there. So, ended up dumping all the way down to 10 or 990 for that matter. I was looking for support at that point. We had it, but ended up just falling flat. I took like 8 cents on this trade as a long just earlier from 992. Good level, but just didn't really make that big move back up towards the 1050 I was looking for. So, better to take the chump change and run and just, hold on there. So, TGTX, maybe this could be a better short if this really holds under 10, but it's so flat right now. I'm going to pass on it here. Rather focus on a stock like IQ that, albeit a little bit flat right now, it's still holding really well near the highs. This stock we've been referencing for a long time as a potential short squeeze stock, keyword potential. So, we didn't know when that would be, but historically across the last month and a half, it's been on a tear, up over 100% since early November. So, for right now, we'll definitely put this on our watch list here as a day trade. At this point right now, you might wonder, when is it going to hit resistance historically and pull back? So, now at this point, I don't know if it's going to be as great of a swing trade to see, perfect continuation. But as a day trade, it's one that we've had our eye on. I mean, the China markets have been very bullish over the last month, obviously with JP Morgan, or if not them, it was Goldman Sachs, kind of changing their sentiment on China markets, China sectors, and saying they're bullish. So, this is one of the stocks that greatly benefited from that. So we'll definitely put this on our watch list right now. Often when this is moving, I'm surprised she didn't call it out yet. Later, we'll check in and see if this is moving as well as IQ. The HUYA, she had called it out back on Tuesday of this week. Ended up making a nice pop then. Right now, it's kind of flat. It's kind of at the highest, kind of like the IQ, but I think IQ is trading a little bit more volume right now. All right. So what else we got right now here, folks? Just going down the rest of the gainers side for right now. Carvana, CVNA. This was up big from earlier. Now it's kind of flat. WeWork, same deal. Lucy, this was a tease yesterday. Now it's breaking above resistance. It's at the highs. I'm not too tempted in this yet. It's not trading really any big money right now. ABEO, ooh, little pop like in the early to mid afternoon here. I actually didn't realize this until right now. So little squeeze up off like a pennant, pushed up towards like 283, 285. Obviously pretty flat right now. So we'll pass on here. A little interesting though. All right, let's hop over to the loser side here with the markets moving up a little bit today. I don't know if there's any name brands that are down big off of news. I wouldn't necessarily expect it. Oof, what the hell is this? BBLE. Oh, it's an ETF. Interesting. Wow. You can just tell right in the watermark right there on the chart. EA Bridgeway Blue Chip ETF. Never heard of it. I only clicked on it because it was down big, just tradable in the, in regards to volume total and price. But for right now, I'll pass. SOXS trade, ETF, also like the other one. Not a whole lot looking too tempting from the loser side here. I mean, you could just tell because a lot of things are hard to borrow normally on the loser side, so I kind of gloss over those unless if they're like really down big. For example, STX in pre-market, I called out at the time. It was, getting smashed, and ever since it kind of squeezed back up fast right there and just flattened out. It really didn't make any good trade after the initial squeeze, so I didn't really focus on it at that point. But aside from this, there's not really a whole lot out there otherwise. All right, so really quick, folks, if there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than 5%, just type it in the chat board right now. Just let me know. We got a little bit more time, but still, not a whole lot out there, I think. Much needed water break right there, too. That's right, Ravina. Much appreciated there. ARDX. So ARDX is still in contention for a potential gap fill continuation. And we were talking about this earlier. See, Ravina? Got my level marked out here. I told you, right off 262. That was a big CVP level from earlier today. Next resistance after that, if we can get this break, would be off of 275, then 3. 275, though, I would expect for that to be a strong top just from how I prep up my own charts. Just looking at that, I could tell you 275. If we can clear over this 262, that will be pretty big to watch going forward. But yeah, good call. That's right. We'll put this back on our list here, the ARDX. Hey, safe stock, more of a level 1 or 2 trade. So in that regard, why not? Scott, low volume. Not a fan of low volume. Remember, folks, we're kind of in the middle of a crap week. You don't want to trade low volume unless if it's looking really good. This was looking good before, perhaps, but nothing happening here. All right, so I think the HOTH trade is still kind of pulling back. It's holding under 10 now, so that, I mean, hey, if it could snap back above 10, then there's a trade, I feel. But even this, right, Scott? Like, even this is on like a huge spread, paper thin order book. So if this does not break back over 10 going forward, then I wouldn't consider it. If it does, then we'll see where it can go, but you always want to set your stops as well, right? So, even if this can crack back over 10, you wouldn't necessarily be, out of the doghouse right away. There we go. There's the pop over 20, but even this, not fully out of the doghouse. You got to see it really hold 20 as support over time here. There's still plenty of time before the market closes. So that's not just in respect to a trend up, but that could be in respect to profit taking. Now, this thing was $3.88, last Friday. Before Christmas, this stock was $3.88. It's at $20 plus right now. So if you were in this trade from last Friday, which obviously I'm just giving a hypothetical, scenario here, but if you were in this trade at 3 whatever, and this thing's at 20, I can only imagine that you would be selling your trade now, if not much earlier, like all of us did before. So, at some point, big trees fall hard. This is going to pull back pretty nastily. So just be careful. But for right now, it's looking really strong. Your next psychological level would be roughly off of 25. Even from the daily chart here, I think one thing I'd mentioned earlier, how about this? No, I wasn't expecting this. I was not holding my breath for this, but if not mistaken, I think I ended up even calling this out inside the chat board, saying that, hey, over time that we could see resistance historically. Yep. Check the timestamp actually on this as well, folks. For all of us just exclusively inside the live trading room, you'll be able to see this. I'll repost this. 7:44 in the morning. There's a reason why I type all of this stuff out to you folks. Not because I expect it, but it's best to plan ahead. I wrote to you at 7:44 in the morning. Calahas are at 20, but a historical level at 2150. And why 2150? Well, if you look on the weekly chart here, you can see a couple of these candles, if anything, if not a few. 2145 high back from like June earlier this year, and then back in August, 2150 high back here. Be careful right now. And if it could really crack that, then there's a pretty good chance to have 25. But, let's give that 2150 there, 2145 to 2150, some good respect. It's getting close. Don't want to fly too close to the sun. All right, so I think that'll do, folks. Let me actually just double check Benzinga one more time. I'm lacking a monitor right now. I'm charging my headphones with my other port on my laptop. How about that? So with that, let's see if there's anything else from Benzinga. We have Hoth, we have Cala, BXRX. It's trying to squeak up, but I'm not a believer yet on that. If we miss this, I don't care. Cano, CANO, talking about potential squeezes. This is at the highs. It's up over 15%. Starting to pop right now. This looks a lot easier on the eyes. This thing got crushed back from late September, early October of this year, fell from 10 all the way down to obviously where it is now, like $1. So pretty interesting trade. We'll give it a look. All right, so for all of us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, I appreciate you folks sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you're interested in joining our live trading room, feel more than free to go right down to the link on the green banner below the stream right there to get yourself started. And then otherwise, if not yet, then just feel more than free to send over a quick email. Josh@c2trading.com is my handle. I always like to post that just right here at the end of the meetings here. All right, even An email coming in right now, actually. How about that? So I'll look at that just in a moment. But with that, though, for all of us on inside the live trading room, I'll look to post the tweets coming up in just a moment. You'll have Rich from 3 to 4, and then I'll be in the chat board at least all throughout the market close here from 3 to 4. I'll be in the chat board myself. All right, folks, I'll talk to you all soon.